What's going down, everybody? Today we are back up in the shop. We're getting back on the Hurst Olds. So this thing's been sitting here. We have a full QA1 Level 2 handling kit. We're going to be installing the full back portion. That's why we got the rear end out. So we're going to be doing coilovers, upper and lower control arms, these little frame brace doohickeys, and all poly bushings. I mean, this is the complete full meal deal out back. So we're going to go through. I'll bring you in on all the stuff that we're going to be installing. And then we're going to start on getting everything on the rear end. Then we're going to get the rear end in the car, get all the fancy bits in. So like I said, in this video, I'm going to be building out the coilovers. We're going to be installing control arms, sway bars, and the coilovers. Everything that you'll need to convert your G-Body with a QA1 coilover system. Let's go. Said I'll bring you in all this fancy stuff I just showed you. So we have our upper arms here with new poly bushings. So we're gonna have to be pressing those bad boys, and I don't have press, so we're gonna have to make our own. So stay tuned for that. We got our full coilover set up for the back with thrust washers. This is gonna be their double adjustable setup. We're gonna be running a 12-inch spring at a 220-pound weight. So we'll go ahead and go through those, build those out with the anti-seize per the instructions. We got our upper mounts, lower control arms, sway bar, and all the pieces that go to put it together. Those are the sway bar mounts. We got our coilover relocation brackets, boom, boom. The rest of it's there. So it should be pretty straightforward. We should be able to jump in here, go through it step by step, because the great thing about QA1 is all of this you can buy as a kit ready to go. We also have everything for the front. We'll be doing it in another video. But the cool thing is you can do these individually. So if you just have a little bit of money and you want to start plugging away at it, you can order the lower control arms. Then you can order the uppers. You don't have to do it all at once. You can go piece by piece. So we'll go through installing piece by piece and get this thing knocked out. All right, so we're going to start by, I'm going to remove these studs for the factory shocks. We got to get these off to make way for the coilover relocation brackets. I'm just going to go ahead and strip everything before we start putting the bushing in, not to get too distracted here. We'll install those after we get the bushing tins in. But these bad boys are going to go on there. One thing, shoot a comment. Should I paint these black, or should we leave them this fancy silver finish? I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Thing about QA1, every single thing that you buy, so every single one of these pieces I showed you comes with its own installation directions with pictures, because I need pictures. There's not coloring spots, but pictures help. So we got all of our beautiful finish. That's the upper mount. Lower mounts are going to go on that. All brand new hardware. I got our assembly juices here. So let's get to getting these bad boys in. I'll show you what we came up with for pressing these in, because I don't have a push it inner tool. So what we did was we got ourselves some bolts and some big old washers. So we're going to go ahead, get this on there, put a little lube on it, and suck it in, and you'll be the first to see if it works or if it was a dumb idea. All right, so what we got is we just got a bolt, this big dock washer, and then I found another washer that just so happened to be in the old everything drawer. We just threw that on the backside. Come put your peepers in on that. So all I'm going to do is I put a little assembly lube on there to make it go in easier. I'm just going to put the old ugga-lugga on it. Look at it go. And then once it gets flush, like it is right now, we're going to have to go ahead and swap it out, switch to another bolt, and then we'll throw the big socket on there so that way we can suck it in the rest of the way.
You're filming now.
All right, I'm filming now. All right, so here we go. We got this thing sucked in enough to put our giant 1 7/8" on there. So come on here, put your little peepers. So there's a shoulder on this, and this is tapered on the inside. All we have to do is seat this to the shoulder. So we're going to suck it in, I don't know what, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. I think that's it. What do you think? Mint. Back it off. Look and see what we got. Bada boom, bada bing. I think it can go a little bit more. All right, we're gonna suck that in just a little bit more, but yeah, perfect. I think that worked out great. All right. So here's where we're at. We got the bottom built out nice and loose. We got washers everywhere they go. Dexter's getting his side built out. So you have these 2 bolts that are going to be the through bolt for the bracket here, which also me and Dexter were like, why are these bolts so long? Well, they pick up the lower control arm, duh. So this bad boy is going to go on like that. We're going to get it bolted on, get the other one bolted on, and then we'll have these brackets on. Our upper bushings are in. Those are the upper coilover mount brackets. Those go up into your factory strut location. Bada boom and bada bing. So when we get the rear end up into place, get the coilovers built out, we'll throw those up in there, and then that'll bolt that upper section. So we're going to get these on, get them snugged up. And we're not going to final torque everything till the rear end's in the car, everything where it needs to be. We'll go through and final torque everything at that point. All right, so here's where we're at. So I did, when putting these on, these are nice and tight. Everything is snug. It's not all loose and sloppy. So I did have to do a little clearancing. So I opened up the bottom hole, I opened up the inside hole. I wanted to make sure everything is fitted as good as I could possibly get it before we get it up in the car, and we're trying to get a control arm in there and the holes aren't lining up. So when they're loose, they are kind of a bear to get in there. I had to end up get the bolt in there to get it aligned, get this one on. And then once you suck this one down, it actually tightens it up and gets it closer to where it needs to go. So you're gonna fight with it a little bit, but once you get it in the right spot and you get it tightened up, it'll be right where it needs to go. So those are done. Moving on to the next step. Figured because we're at a good point, rear end is almost all the brackets and mounts on it ready to go. We're gonna start getting control arms ready to go and get this rear end into place. I figured I'd bring in, show you the underside of this car. We got this all detailed out, repainted, touched up the undercoat, sandblasted, all the heat shields, reshot those, repainted those. Just really coming together. The underside of this car looks killer. It's going to look so good with all the new suspension on it. And then all the new stuff goes back in. New chans, new motor. It's going to be a party. Bring you in on one other thing. So went ahead and checked both of these. I laid them on top of each other. They were both the same length from QA1. The only difference was also reference them on the stock arm. So I mean, that's what we're getting rid of. This stamped floppy garbage to this pretty hotness. But one thing is the way these are built out is they are built out the same exact way. So we would have had one Zerk, because these are obviously Zerk greasable. We'd have had one up and one down. So what I figured I'd do is I want them both facing down. So I just took it over the workbench, loosened up the jam nuts, spun one way, spun one the other way, kept it the same exact length, checked them, tightened them back down. So now both my Zerks are facing down. I just did that off preference. It doesn't really matter. You can do it however you want. But those are good. Same length as factory. So we're not changing anything as of right now. We might adjust the suspension, obviously, when we go do some autocross or some drag race and stuff like that. But as of right now, we're just setting it factory lengths, factory setup for our base. So let's get this thing in the rig. All right, well, let's get these all built out. I figured this is a good time before we go ahead and get the rear end out. I'll get the coilovers built out because we're going to need those. So like I said, we have the thrust washer, which this is a separate item when you order the coilovers. I highly suggest getting them. What this is going to do is it's going to sit at the base of your coil spring, and it's going to allow those coils not to bind, which they're going to be popping and binding, which is going to affect your suspension. So this allows them to move freely in there and just do better, more gooder. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to anti-seize those bad boys. I kind of pack them like I'm almost packing a bearing, because they are a bearing. So I'll do top side and bottom side and just pack it in there. Try not to get this stuff all over everything. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to anti-seize where the coilover is going to be sitting or where we're going to be adjusting it. I'm going to go ahead and just default on knowing that we're going to go as low as this thing can possibly go, because that's what I always end up doing. So we're going to go ahead and get our anti-seize on there down at the base. What I like to do is I'll put it on there, and I'll show you when I do that here in a second. I'll put it on there and then I'll run the threads down through it, so that way we get a good amount of anti-seize in the collar and lock ring as well as on there, and we have that mobility to move it up and down. So that bearing's going to sit in between those two washers. Bob's your uncle. And Now go ahead and paint this bad boy. Jeez, this is ridiculous. And you don't gotta get crazy. What I did is I put this on there. I put a decent amount on there, and then after I ran it up and down, got the two surfaces, you know, mated and got that looby dooby in there. I cleaned it up because obviously I didn't want a bunch of junk, dirt, and grime going on there and getting it all yucky. All right, that'll work. All right, so this bad boy on. And the whole purpose of the anti-seize, obviously this is called for in the directions, but we got aluminum to aluminum. We don't want this galling up and getting nasty. Well, like I said, we're going bottom floor. And these go on a specific way, so this collar faces up for that spring to seat on there. Thrust washer and bearing sit on top of that. Coil spring sits on top of that. You do have to take the top hat off, which is right here. So I went ahead and took that off first to obviously get these down. Bippity, boppity, boo. Bye, buddy. Love you. And that goes on like that. We'll tighten that bad boy up. And there's one finished coilover. Now I gotta do it again and tighten that up. Bring it back in here. Rear end is in. Upper control arms are in. These are, like I said, in that level 2 handling kit, you get these trailing arm reinforcements. So what it does is it ties the upper arm to the lower arm, because this is just stamped sheet metal. Same thing up here. This is just sheet metal, nothing crazy, but it ties those two together. So when that 4-link is fighting against this sheet metal, it does science and it does math. Someone did it at one point, and those forces that are trying to tear the back of this car apart actually help each other to be stronger. It's pretty amazing. So those are both in. It's time for rear control arms next, which we got right here. We'll get those on. Once those are on, then it will be time to put the coilovers in. So I went ahead. You do have to relief these upper bolt holes where the old struts used to go, where the coilovers will go. And then you do also have to step up these holes. It's larger hardware, so you got to step that up. And, you know, it's more gooder and buffer. So, all right, well, little status update here. So lower control arms are in. So these, not that bad, but kind of a bear. Like if I was on my back in my driveway, it probably wouldn't have been fun. I may have said some words that would have disappointed my wife. But you got to shoot the gap through the frame. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up doing the old washer and the, because this is what we're working with right here. So I took the old tape, wrapped it around there, then threw it in the socket, stuffed it in the hole. It worked like a dream. It worked like a, you know, it's supposed to. So that's on there now. We're going to get the other side on, and then we're ready to throw the coilover in. And then we're going to be ready for sway bar, and we're done back here. All right, so both coilovers are installed. Like I said, everything's loose right now. I'm going to go through and final torque everything once we get it in here. But we got our upper trailing arms installed and greased. Also, they come with grease. Do not forget to grease them, because these poly bushings will squeak on you. So we're greased up. Boom, boom, boom. Lower trailing arms are in, as well as the trailing arm frame brace mounts. So those, like we already talked about, the science bars. Science bars are installed. Coilovers are installed. Now we got sway bar, and that's going to be everything in the back. Bring in, so we got QA1 sway bar. This is what it all comes with. So you got your mounts, hardware, everything you need, all brand new and fresh. And then these are shims. I don't know if we're gonna need any of those. We're gonna go ahead and get these slid onto the sway bar. The way they go is you got 2 mounts on either side. Those mounts go into the provided welded holes here in the control arm, and everything mounts from the back side. All you got is your hardware there. So let's get it going. So easy to install, I almost forgot to film it about it. So slide those bad boys on outside the car. You're gonna wanna keep them as close as you can. They're loose, so you just slide them as close as you can to this joint. All we did, you just lift it up, slide the hardware in, boom, boom. You gotta adjust it. What we ended up doing is just making our measurement the same on both sides. Boom, 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 boom. It's that easy to install this sway bar. This is the easiest thing we did. Easeability install, I give it a 1. It was so easy. But yeah, there it is. Beautiful sway bar. All right, well, there it is, the full level 2 handling kit for this G-Body. This is 83 Oldsmobile Hurst. Super excited to see the performance gains from this kit. I mean, I don't know, where do you start? Obviously, ditch the old coil springs, old shocks. We're full coilover now. Just the weight savings alone going to the coilovers is crazy. We got a big old beefy sway bar, upper, lower arms. Everything is Zerk greasable. We got the braces going between the 2 upper and lower arms. So I'm just super excited about this. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful. This kit, scale of easeability, I would say this was easier than the 3rd gen, my Camaro that I did. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. Could you do it on jack stands? Could you do it in your driveway? Yep. We had to drill out a couple holes and make them bigger. There was no welding. Everything, it's the quality that you go to expect with QA1. All the finishes were great. Nothing was burned. Everything went on easy. So, could you do it in your driveway? Yep. Was it easy on the lift? Yep. But, I mean, that's it. I just want to say thanks QA1. Another amazing, great product and another project down. I hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you did, go ahead and hit that like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe because we got a ton more coming your way. We got more on the Oldsmobile. We got the front end to do. This will be a part 2. I'll be doing the full level 2 handling kit up front. Control arms, upper and lower, sway bars, coilover conversion. So make sure you keep your eye out on that. And then we're going to be doing bare brake brakes, motor, which I haven't said what we're doing yet, but I'm pretty excited about that. Trans, and then getting this thing back on the road. Also, some pretty sweet wheels coming. So stay tuned. Appreciate y'all. Tune in next time.